Hello everybody and welcome back to Suzerain with me, your host Parallax. We are at -5 wealth or government budget. Our economy is in the crapper. We did have the economy moving in the right direction and then we went down to -7. So I think the key to keeping that economy moving forward is to get government spending under control and take care of inflation. To that end, there is going to be an opportunity, I believe, for us to buy a minor interest in some of the telecommunications companies, and I think we should do that because they're not being fair and there's nothing we can do about it. But if we were part owner, then we could start putting pressure on the department, the board of trustees or the board of directors, and we could have a more vocal say in how the company spends its money and its attention and its fairness. But all that is in the future. What lays right in front of us is the assembly vote for the constitutional changes. Now, this is what we ran on. This is our big thing. We have made our party very, very angry because we are kind of going against everything they hold dear. There is a reformist or liberal part of our party that, enjoys what we're doing. But they're also moderates and conservatives. And we are kind of going extreme. Let me just show you a picture here. So this is our party, the USP. I'm thinking that we're gonna, I was thinking that we get half of these, of the 130. We get half of that, which I think was like 65. And then this 70. That's we're doing everything that they want. So I thought 65 and 70 would be, that would be. That'd pretty much be where we want to be. That put us like at 130 some odd votes. But for some reason, we only have 116 the last time that we checked. And during that time, we spent our last personal wealth to help move people in our direction. And we've opened up a couple of highways and we've vetoed some stuff. So, really there's reason to believe that we're getting close to that 100. I think it's 130 or 125. I can't remember. I thought it was 116 to begin with, or 112, but it is not. Anyway, this right here is probably going to be. This is going to be a hard situation to bear. But here we go. Sergey was driving me toward the Grand National Assembly for today's historic vote. It was a big day. I wondered whether my attempt at changing the Constitution would end any differently than Alfonso's. Alfonso was a guy who was trying to do this before us, and he got shit canned. We took his place. We're pretty much the exact same person. I looked out the window at the noise of the Capitol, as the noise of the city diminished, and saw that we were already inside the palace complex. The complex housed the buildings of all government branches in the center of the Capitol. It was one of the biggest developments in Sorland. The palace stood on a small hilltop surrounded by trees. We passed by the palace and entered the forest that separated it from the National Assembly. We drove on a small road that wound through the forest. It was a warm day, so I rolled down the window. I could hear the birds singing in the trees. Are you okay back there, sir? I'm good. That's good to hear. Sergey made a left turn out of the forest and entered the vast garden area of the assembly. Did you know that Mr. Tranquil Soul came to the capital city this morning? Oh, no. I heard some politicians talking about it. Yes, talking about it today. Apparently, this is the first time he's come to the city in the last 5 years. I thought he left the mainland and lived on Dura Island, never to return back to politics, but they were saying that he might be here to exercise his member of honor rights for the first time. So he lives out there in that little island. He swore off politics, but he's coming back to exercise, because one of the things we're going to do is we're going to try to strip him of his immunity so that he can be held accountable for some of the things that he did. And that might be a little bad, because it was bad times when he was president and he held things together. He led a coup against the government, and there was another guy leading a coup at the same time, so it was pretty bad. However, what I think the immunity really is pointing toward is later, when things had settled down and he had consolidated the country and things were moving forward. Even then he was doing things that just weren't appropriate, but we'll see. That's great. Maybe I'll meet him. I'm sure you'll meet him, sir. If he's coming here after all these years, he would pay the president his respects. Do you think he's here about today's vote? Yes, Sir Jay, most likely. I am pretty sure that he is. Well, I'm sure he'll support you, sir. We'll learn soon enough. We have arrived, sir. Thank you, Sir Jay. Of course, sir. Good luck with the vote. I walked up to the white stone stairs of the Grand National Assembly. The entrance looked like a temple gate from the classical era. The doors opened to reveal vast corridors of wood and white stone. I joined the crowd of people who were walking slowly toward the parliamentary hall. Suddenly, I noticed Lucian emerge from the crowd of packed politicians in front of me. He looked relieved when he saw me. Ah, sir, there you are. Have you seen Vice President Vectron? He's nowhere to be found. I'm sure he's among the crowd somewhere. I hope you are right. At any rate, how about yourself? Are you ready to finally face the assembly, sir? Yes. Ready as as ready as I've ever been. Yes. I hope it works out. I'm still a bit stressed. I've just heard something worrying from Sergey. We'll address that later, sir. Now we must go inside. We followed the crowd into the parliamentary hall. After we were inside, Lucian and I stepped to take our assigned seats. I went up to the mezzanine overlooking the hall and sat down. I waited as MPs took their places inside the hall one by one. After a while, I saw Gloria walk to her elevated seat at the center of the hall. Ladies and gentlemen, we really should be talking about Soul being here. That shouldn't be something that we put off till later. I guess it's not going to change anything now. The wheels are in motion. Please take your seats. We will shortly begin with today's agenda of the USP proposed change to the Constitution of Sorland. According to the current Constitution, constitutional amendments require a 2/3 majority in order to reach the Assembly approval. If the vote succeeds, the proposal will be sent to the Supreme Court. The proposal in question includes these points. She started reading the proposal to the Assembly. First section of the change, Article 57, is modified with the following. She continued reading the proposal, highlighting each section. Section 2, paragraph 36. She went on, may not exercise his right to, and on. The justices of the Supreme Court. Most of the PMs seemed like they were already falling asleep. A simple majority is considered. The seat was really hurting my back. Section 4, paragraph 44A. It felt like an eternity had passed. Finally, she finished reading the changes. I hereby invite all of you to vote. She struck her gavel down. The loud bang made some MPs jump in shock as they woke from their deep sleep. As I previously stated, it will require a 2/3 majority in order to pass. You may now cast your votes. We get to say nothing before this happens. I felt the need to stand up and stretch. I looked down at the hall and the platform I was seated on. Some assembly members immediately walked to the ballot box to cast their votes. Most of them, however, began to congregate in groups around the hall, discussing the changes. More democracy. I'm expecting your votes. I don't know if I should go down there. I don't know if it's a done deal or not. I'm not going to be yelling out any of this stuff. That's just crazy. I wonder if this would be considered like interfering, and I wonder if it's like taboo. Soul's going to be down there. He's going to walk in, I guarantee it. So where do you want to be? That's a better question. Where do you want to be when Tarkin Soul walks in? Do you want to be greeting people and talking to people? Or do you want to be aloof and watching? Aloof and watching if we were vindictive. Going down there if we're trying to work with people. So let's go down there. As soon as I reach the bottom of the stairs, approach me. Is that Swedish politician? Oh, okay. All right. Let's see what this guy has to say. This is the, I think he's the fascist. Mr. President, how are you feeling about the vote? Very positive. I'm hoping for the best. Not so good. I hope you vote yes. Very positive. Even knowing you don't have our support, how optimistic of you. I have lost my respect for you, Mr. Rain. So many problems in Sorlin that must be addressed, and yet you insist on installing us with your diplomatic reforms. I know you will fail, you will lose the game, and so will your entire administration. I hope to be there when it happens. Watch your words. You cannot do anything. Keep hoping. He laughed. He abruptly turned away from me and walked toward his seat. We actually went and spoke in front of the assembly, and this guy was like yelling at us, calling us a bunch of bad stuff, and that we were morons. And we specifically said we would like to work with you. Please, like, reach out to us. And this is how he still treats us. When I saw Lucian waving at me, he was among a group of people in the corner of the hall. I walked up to him. On my way, I bumped into this guy. Ah! Member of the Assembly and the current leader of the Independents of the Grand National Assembly. This is the Independents. Of the Independents, there are not that many. There's only a handful of Independents, but let's see what happens here. Mr. President, I'm sorry I didn't see you there. I wish you good luck with the vote. He gave me a cold stare. Excuse me. He straightened his tie and walked away. I finally reached Lucian, but who by now... Yeah, so he's mad at me because we helped this country, Wayland, down here. We helped them hurt these people, these, where's the guy at? Can I go back one? Yeah. I can't say it. I think it's like Bloodish, Bloodish, but he's a descendant of the people who are down here that are being kind of oppressed. But these people are also kind of like, they're fringe, kind of like gypsies, I guess, maybe, but they're not. I don't know. It's a weird situation, but we hurt those people. We turned them away from the border, at least. Sir, did you vote yet? We have to be quick. No, let's vote. I signed my vote and prepared the envelope. Together, Lucian and I walked to the center of the hall to cast our votes. He kept rushing me through the process. Gloria bowed her head slightly in respect as she saw us vote. Lucian pulled on my arm and whispered in my ear, Mr. President, we may have a problem. Sol is here. I know, that's what I was saying. I know. You have to accelerate the voting process. We need everybody to vote as soon as possible. We don't know what he's capable of right now, but if the assembly members see him, he might influence them against the proposal. Should I talk to him? I would advise against that right now. The assembly must focus on the vote. Any confrontation between the two of you would draw their attention away. Yeah, let's do this. Let's go back to our seats. Any noise we make will distract everyone. Suddenly, Lucian pulled me aside. Sure, what do we do? He pointed at the back of the assembly near one of the exits. I followed his finger, and he was sitting there. He looked much older than he had 5 years ago, but I could tell that he had some fire in him. Some PMs had already gathered around him and were chatting in awe. The assembly gradually went quiet as people started to notice his presence. We should go talk to him. We should refrain from giving him the spotlight he expects. Maybe you can address him after the vote. As I was talking to Lucian, I spotted... Yep, at the back of the port. He bowed in front of Sol and gave him a military salute. Seeing this, more people started to approach him. Suddenly, Gloria came up behind us. Gentlemen, why don't you go back to your seats? Let's follow the procedure. Oh, and by the way, we have 251 members today. As you can see, the member of honor is here. He has already cast his vote. He has now, so Miss Corey, how many votes are missing? Only a few. This guy and 3 other men approached us with envelopes in their hand, and these must be them. Good day to you, gentlemen, Madam Speaker. Good day, Mr. Calvin. I'm sorry to take so long, Mr. President. There was a friend who needed more clarification for his vote. He gestured to the men behind them. Let's get this over with. He's been used and regarded as leader of the progressive faction. Ah, good. So he just brought in 3 more votes. Great. All right. We both went back to our seats. When I returned back to Miss, I saw Peter sitting in the chair next to mine. Did you cast your vote? Yes, of course. He looked at Gloria as she and her assistants counted the votes. The speaker's seat was only a few meters away from our platform. I really hope the proposal goes through. It will. Let's see. He tried to get Gloria's attention by waving at her. How many votes left? Gloria looked at Peter. She looked annoyed. 117 yays, 50 more votes to count. Oh man. So we need, I think it's like 126. I think we need 11 out of the 50. What? 50 votes left, and we still need 40. Oh no! Oh no! We're screwed. We're screwed. That's okay, there's hope. Come on. Yeah, it's okay. Look at friends over there. I'm sure he was behind this mess. You shouldn't have trusted him. How did we trust him? Oh, he was sabotaging? Not over yet. Don't jump to conclusions. Well, a single bang from Gloria's gavel reverberated across the hall. Everyone fell silent. The voting has been concluded. The proposal has 120 yes, 120 nays. It did not even reach the number of signatures that supported it. Thereby, the Grand National Assembly had successfully rejected the change to the Constitution. It was roaring with all kinds of different reactions. I felt destroyed. I lowered my head and closed my eyes for a second. God, I'm sorry. It's okay. We'll find another plan. The PMs kept shouting in the hall. Among them, I heard his voice. I blame the president for this result. He and his party's weak attitude toward real change doomed it from the start. He's just like his predecessors, enjoying the privilege of the presidency while ignoring the responsibilities that come with it. It's time to realize that real change will only come from real reformists. The People's Freedom Party Justice will keep leading this movement. He stood and gazed around the hall, and all the members of the Grand National Assembly went silent. He walked out of the exit as two of his guards helped him to the door. Thank God he didn't do anything. Soul or no soul, we were definitely... Yeah, neither the party nor the public is going to be pleased. We can't change the Constitution, so what? We're still in charge. It's hard to be in charge without any support. We'll see what happens. We need to hold the emergency meeting to plan our next moves. We both looked down on the floor for a while. After regathering our thoughts, Peter and I walked out of the assembly hall. He waited for Sarah J by the entrance. Yeah, so I guess we should have done, I thought we only needed 116 or 120. He said there were 50 less, we needed 49, we were at 116. We just needed an ungodly number of people. And yeah, like I did trust this guy. I thought that he was going to like throw his full weight behind us and that we were going to get this done, but apparently he'd rather see us fail, and then I don't know what his plan is. I guess I was too trusting. It kind of sucks. Well, the Assembly voted against constitutional changes. Changes to the Constitution failed. Constitutional proposal rejected by the Assembly. That hurts. That hurts. Like I've had some letdowns in games before, but that one was pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I don't see anything else on the map, but this is going to be the emergency meeting. All right. Lucian, Peter, and I met in my office and decided to move out onto the balcony to get some fresh air in the increasing summer heat. They both looked uncomfortable in their suits. Peter was trying not to make eye contact and kept letting out desperate sighs. He wiped his sweat off his forehead with a handkerchief. What do we do now? All our plans for nothing. Yes, the USP leadership is beginning to target us as well, not to mention Soul himself. Yeah, what the hell was that about? Soul appearing out of nowhere? He came to the assembly to make a statement, and it worked. What's done is done. Let's not linger on the past. You're right, sir. We must plan ahead now. We'll be organizing a cabinet meeting to discuss our present and future state of affairs. I also tried to test the waters with our PMs. MPs, we can't let the party slip out of our grasp. Good, I want each minister to give me a report. Yes, sir. I think it's time to conclude our little meeting, sir. There was a tap on my shoulder. This is my secretary. Pardon the interruption, gentlemen. Mr. President, David is calling about the upcoming foreign policy meeting. Tell him I'll be right there. I will, sir. My condolences on the vote result, Mr. President. She looked Peter in the eyes as if she had said this and ignored Lucian altogether. Peter's eyes followed her as she walked out. What the hell? Okay. Suzerain and then Peter. Okay, she's having an affair with Peter. Great, wonderful. Getting pretty hot out here. Okay, let's call it finished. You both may go. Alright. So what do you think is next? What do you think is next? How do you get reelected after pissing off the party? I guess you just can't go against. Oh, you know what? At least we got Soul out of the education. At least he's not going to pop up there, you know. So, and we got a highway named after us. Invitation to a movie premiere. Ooh, let's go to see a movie. I have been invited to an exclusive preview of the Alfred Kubrick's film The Morning Shall Come. Although I wasn't in much of a movie-going mood, it would have been an unpresidential for me not to attend. With this massive budget and Kubrick directorial cachet, this drama was set to be a milestone for Sorlin's budgeting film industry. Personally, though, I was just looking forward to spending some time with my family. It was a very hot and sunny day as Sergei drove us to the old Capitol. The film was to be screened in the historic cinema, the very first cinema in Sorlin. I'd maxed out the air conditioning to keep the Cadilla comfortable, but there wasn't. The only reason I felt a chill in the air, I noticed Frank fidgeting with his tie anxiously. Worrying about the university exam, son? Since when do you care what's happening in my life? You know I'll support you whether you pass or fail. What an honor, your highness. Excited for the movie? She nodded happily. What about you, Papa? I know you're sad, but failure helps us grow, right? I'm just fine. Everything's going to be wonderful from now on. Exactly. Where did you learn that? From you. Now, no more politic talk, isn't that right? Of course, let's just focus on having a nice time at the movies. She folded her arms as we drove in silence. Sergei rolled down the soundproof glass between us. Sir, we are about to enter Elroy. Errolor, I don't know how to pronounce any of these words. We'll be at the cinema in a few minutes. Thank you, Sergei. A brief look outside as Sergei rolled the soundproof glass up. I could see many of the towers rising over what looked like the old city. We're in the main square. Is this the place? Yeah, it was an old boutique-style corner building with walls that looked more like marble from a distance. Sergei pulled the car to his entrance of the building, which was lit by vivid neon stripes and many colors. Come on, let's go out. Sergei opened the door and we exited to the red carpet. Mr. President, how are you handling the defeat of your constitutional reform in the Assembly? I will respect the Assembly's decision. Thank you, Mr. President. And were you aware that Tarkin Sol would be present at the proceedings? No, I had to find out from my driver. Before she could ask anything else, the guards ushered us inside the theater. In contrast with the cinema's boutique-style exterior, the interior was modern and sleek, with bare walls painted black, red, and white. A man walked up to us in quick steps. Ah, that's the man himself. Madame, Mr. President, so good to see you here. He gently bowed at Monica, and she shook our hands. It's an honor to meet you. I am Alfred. The honor's mine. We're a big fan of your work. Frank snorted. I glanced at him, and he instantly took a sip of his cola. It's very humbling to know that you've been watching and enjoying my movies. If you don't mind me asking, which one is your favorite? One may be slightly different than my previous works. The Shortest Dream. Oh, really? Then you might enjoy this one too. I'll admit I didn't expect you to be such a cinemaphile. Why don't we take to our seats? It's about to start. We entered the screening room. The lights dimmed. The film began. It was a period drama set in 1870 about a sword shoulder who pursued a doomed romance with a widowed. There's that people again. Farmer during the conquest of Persia. That's one of the. That's like this area down here. I guess we took that from somebody. As the credits rolled, I made an early exit to use the men's room. I was washing my hands when I heard an unmistakable voice behind me. But what did you think? Arkansas leaned on his cane. He had the same frail appearance I had noticed in the assembly meeting, yet up close I could feel the raw magnetism that had kept him in power for 20 years. I found the plot questionable, but certainly looked spectacular. What about yourself? Sentimental parabola. Paddlum? Sentimental paddlum? For the enjoyment of housewives only, and for a period piece, the script contained far too many anacronyms. Totes. Indubitably. I'm surprised to see you're so aroused, sir. What were you doing at the assembly? My country was about to make a rash decision. I couldn't simply sit by. And you're pleased by the outcome? You succeeded for now, but you won't be able to stop me for long. No, there was a glint in his eye. But why did you block the reforms? I will not let you and that bleeding-heart idiot Riker tarnish my prestigious constitution. Is better than you ever were. Your constitution has ancient history. Many my reforms will bring Swarm into the future. Ha! Some of his spittle landed on my cheek. If Sorlin remains in your hands, the only future I see is anarchy. You had your chance to lead. Everyone saw what a mess you made of it. I've known it since you opposed me all those years ago, you spineless, backstabbing weasel. History will show who's what, Colonel. The storm passed out the door. Saw security staff and mine were now clustered outside the washroom, forming a buffer against the large crowd gathered. That's Tarkin Soul, I heard someone scream. His guards closed around him and mine around me. By the time the chaos subsided, I was back in the car with my family, and Soul was long gone. Well, you know, that could have gone better. But it just shows you the type of person, you know, that he is. And that's you know, when I very first started this game, I told you that, like, politics, man, like, you can't sit in politics in your 70s, 80s, and 90s. Like, it's not good. Because by that time, you get so old and so bitter. You have so much skin in the game. And to you, you don't care. You just don't care anymore. Like, you don't have the energy. You don't have the compassion. I mean, maybe you do, but most don't. After the passing of the language bill, a wave of British protests has risen and called for its revocation. Yeah. Well, here's the thing. All you have to do is get the people teaching that class to send a letter to the Minister of Education, and she'll get you a permission to have the language, like to teach the class in your language. The Minister of Education is a progressive. She will write you that recommendation. All you got to do is ask. That's it. And if the institution doesn't want to do it in your language, then that's too bad. So sorry. Well, there you go. In protest after teachers were forbidden to use the language in teaching. If those teachers do not abide by the laws, were to be arrested by the original police force for teaching mathematics. Yeah, I guess I'm a little bit of a fascist now, huh? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? I thought we were doing a good job. Welfare's looking good. Corruption's kind of tackled. The organized crime needs to be next. And then we gotta worry about Rumberg's expansion. Alright, what's this? In yesterday's internal USP meeting, a large group of party members voiced their disappointment in the failed constitutional vote in the Assembly. Criticized President Rain for pursuing changes without in-depth research and proper communication between the party members, blaming the President and the Vice President for the failure. Yeah, of course she did. She's a soulist all the way through and through. She won't give it up. She'll die a soulless. She'll blame everybody else who fails. But here, look at this. In yesterday's intro meeting, a large group of party members voiced their disappointment in the failed constitutional vote. A large group. I wonder what... I mean, it would be nice if they'd tell me numbers. I don't know what a large group is. Out of 130 people, is that 50? 70? Like, what's a large group? A high-level agent has escaped from Rumberg and seeks refuge in Sorland. Oh no. A whistleblower from Rumberg Security Bureau has escaped to Sorland by crossing the border and turned himself to the authorities. Agent Elston Hailstone has promised to reveal extremely sensitive information about the development of a weapons program. We can give refuge to him and risk antagonizing Rumberg or send him back. I'm gonna send him back. We just don't do that. There's a if you ever watch a guy named, I forget his name, Aaron Anderson. He's a former submariner, and he has a channel called Subbriefs. And about a year ago, maybe less, he was reading court documents that were published about an American spy, and apparently this guy got top secret clearance. The spy got top secret clearance from the United States government because of the work he had done as a defense contractor. And like maybe a month after he got top secret clearance, he reached out to a foreign country, like an embassy, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to start feeding you information, and you're going to give me Bitcoin." And that foreign country, for about maybe like 7 months, like sat on it and didn't do anything with it. And then they finally told the United States government. And the United States government sent in FBI agents who acted like the foreign government. And this guy was eventually caught. And yeah, that's just kind of how that's why my decision was to send him back, is because we don't do that. Like, countries don't screw around with people like that. Oh, and that lady made that statement about it being our faults after the bathroom incident, right? So after that guy was like, "Oh, I talked to him, and like I see where he's coming from. He's a piece of trash. Like, smear him." So all those enemies we made, they're not coming back to us. The holiest day of our religion is celebrated the first message received from God by Saint Dast and his 30 disciples. As per tradition, the celebration was held inside the Ark sanctuary of whatever, closed to the public eye. This year, however, for the first time, it was going to be televised. That was Lucian's idea. He saw it, granting the people a rare glimpse of this grand ceremony and showing them how seriously their president took his holy event would ease tensions that lingered in the region. And so we arrived at the largest cathedral in Sorland. A huge crowd had gathered around our convoy as our car pulled up to the entrance. "Well, this worked out well. Trust me, sir." Of course, that's the only... If the prayer is done completely correctly, please don't forget the order. First, you will need to grasp the holy scepter with your left hand and then touch the altar with your right. Kneel before the archpriest and wait for him to put the sword on your shoulder. Okay, I got a telephone right here. I'm going to go ahead and just take a picture of that. Left hand, right hand, kneel, sword, shoulder. How difficult can this be? There, picture taken. Oh crap. Then touch the sword with the hand you touch the altar with. So that would be the right hand. And the scepter over to the archpriest and receive the sword before passing it on to a disciple. So we walk up, left hand scepter, right hand altar, kneel, sword touches our shoulder, right hand touches sword, hand scepter to archbishop with left hand, right hand receives sword, sword is then passed on to disciple. Pretty straightforward, isn't it? Yeah, sure, it's just a ceremony, whatever. It's just one of the most important ceremonies in Sorland, especially for... You will have to go first. I will come inside later, and we will meet up after your part is done. Good luck. I exited the car and was greeted by a choir, a chorus of cheers and camera flashes. I waved to the people as I made my way to the grand gates. The Ark Sanctuary was a sight to see. It was towering visage. It cast its shadow over a large portion of the city. Just standing next to it made me feel in awe and dread in equal measure. As I reached the gates, I spotted my welcoming committee. The archpriest and his disciples were waiting for my arrival. At my approach, they all bowed their heads in respect. The archpriest gave me an infectious smile as he straightened back up. Tall and handsome in his mid-50s, he was one of the youngest and most popular archpriests in history. Some of his more avid followers even likened him to Saint Dast. Mr. President, praise God, it is a blessing to see you on our most holy day again. Welcome, welcome. Bow your head before the archpriests. I bowed my head before the archpriest, which triggered a few murmurs of approval from the crowd. The crowd was still cheering loudly. The archpriest turned and raised both of his hands, and everyone immediately fell silent. O great people of Sorlin, once again we've gathered here to honor our day of dissension. I am indescribably happy to be sharing this moment with you as well as every blood and sword, old and young, turning in their televisions to watch this holy commemoration. What an idiot. Along with the leader of our great nation, I say, let the holy day begin. Stay far from evil, O sons and daughters, for evil hides itself under many disguises such as blasphemy, apostasy, and even alcohol. Be good, my children, praise God, praise Sorlin. He smiled beneficially as the crowd burst into rapturous applause. After it subsided, he turned to me. Shall we move inside for your confession? Pull the archbishop aside for a photo. My confession? Yes, just like every year, every man must confess. He led me through the main hall, which ceilings, top floor, yada yada yada, right this way. He gestured towards a chair in the dark room. The room smelled of old mahogany and scented candles. The archpriest proceeded to light each and every one of the candles, one for each virtue and vice. I will be right with you. He left the room. A minute later, I heard a sound of sliding windows right next to me. He spoke in a very soft tone. Anton Ryan, speak. Speak and confess now before the one God, and may he repent your sins on the most holy day. I don't think I've been a bad husband. I guess we'll say we've been a bad husband. Family is a cornerstone of society. Under the watchful eyes of God, men are required to protect their family. But God created us as complex creatures. At times, conflict arises among us. Tell me, what was your sin? I've been neglecting my family due to the stress of my position. Tragedy of neglect happens to all working men that feeds his family. Rejoice, God is kind in the matters of the family. We'll say that we're not doing enough. You do carry a heavy burden on your shoulders. What you have confessed is not a sin, but you may share your burden with me if you like. Reform is one of the tenets of neutrality, yet it must come slowly but surely. Anything else you would like to confess? That's it for today. Before God, I thank you for sharing. You are now forgiven before God. May you never sin again. The sliding window closed, and the archpriest entered the confession chambers. For the confession to end, you must extinguish the candles representing each one of the virtues and vices. With this, the once burning sins connected to you are now smoke and nothing more. Extinguish the candles. Well done, Mr. President. Let's move to my quarters before the ceremony. He led through the 1,000-year-old corridors to his office. The smell of dust and old tombs was in the air, along with the scent of burning incense being prepared for the ceremony. Well then, please have a seat. The wooden chair next to him looked like it might turn to dust at a single touch. I sat down gingerly. It was surprisingly sturdy. Are you ready for the ceremony? Absolutely. Very good to hear. He leaned back in his chair comfortably. I want to talk to you about something. I heard you decided on the new school curriculum and decided that creation shall no longer be taught in schools. Needless to say, I and the rest of the church are outraged. The possibility that entire generations of school children will have their minds filled with nonsense about evolution while failing to learn one of the most main tenets of whatever will hurt us in years to come. Religion doesn't belong in schools, just like it doesn't belong in the government policies. I didn't want to ban creationism. There were extenuating circumstances. I did not ask you for your opinion. Yeah. It breaks my heart, you know? It really does. there are some people that I have spoken to recently who they really feel that religion should go into every aspect of life, and I don't know. I am afraid of what people will use religion to do. I am afraid of what people will say, like, God wants you to do this, so do it, and it has nothing to do with God. I'm just afraid of that. And when it comes to schools and government, no religion. Schools and government, no religion. That way kids can learn and they can decide what's right, and people aren't going to use it to like mess with their heads. Now, I work in a place where that seems weird, but I don't know. If it's a private school, then that's one thing. If it's a private school, then you're sending your child there and that's what you want them to learn. But if it's a public school, because here's the thing. If you, as soon as you say religion is taught in schools, which religion? Which one? Protestantism? Catholicism? Judaism? Like where? Islam? What are you going to teach? What are you going to teach in there, right? Like, and then which of those tenets of Islam, which of those tenets of Catholicism, which of those tenets of Protestantism? You're gonna have people at each other's throat every day, day in and day out, and people are just not gonna. They're not gonna do it. So there you go. A couple of knocks were heard on the door, and a young boy came in. He bowed before the Archbishop, then me, before letting us know the ceremony was about to begin. We made our way downstairs to where the ceremony was already in progress. The choir sang angelically as the Archpriest took his position beside the altar. Then, when they finished their hymn, an expectant silence fell over the room. It was time for my part. I started my walk, bowed, and approached the altar. Grab the scepter with your left hand, then touch the altar with your right. Kneel before the Archpriest. Archpriest laid the sword on my shoulder. Touch the shoulder with your right hand. And the scepter to the Archpriest. Pass the sword to a disciple. I got up and proceeded to my designated spot next to Lucian. He leaned over and whispered in my ear. Compared to last year, that went surprisingly well, sir. My eyes met the Archpriest, and he very slightly nodded. The ceremony went on for another hour and a half. Finally, the noon bells chimed, marking the end of the cathedral service. We got an achievement. I didn't see what it was. I was reading. We left the cathedral and to greet the awaiting crowd. As I stepped outside, I heard everyone cheering and chanting my name. Lucius Gambit seemed to have been a success. He waved proudly for a minute or two. See, sir, I told you it would work. We entered our cars and drove back to our suites in the city. Ooh, 9 newspapers. My goodness. Ryan and Soul meet at screening. Just outside his home. We're also in attendance, and two men were seen together. New law on education and the shortest language. Ryan had no prior knowledge of Soul's assembly appearance. Trained to keep fighting for reforms following assembly defeat. President attend the day of decision. Sacred ritual, the momentous occasion was celebrated by everyone regardless of their rank and status. Orleans once again felt unity amidst chaos, come together, forgot their differences, and celebrated the word of God. Peaceful protests. One film, 2 very special guests. Yep. Washroom summit. What are they hiding? Yeah, racist bill. Yeah, sorry about that. Alright, anything changed? No, the economy is still there. We're still at -5. Anybody talking to me on the world stage? When I want to torment my daughter, I actually play my videos on the TV downstairs. And I notice that I do this a lot, right? I zoom around the map looking for little reports to read and such. Alright. Briefing on the diplomatic strategy. Dinner with the family at home. Let's end this one with a dinner with the family at home. Let's see if we can't mend our ways here. I arrived home from work, hung my jacket up, and put my briefcase in the hall. I waited my usual welcome from our daughter before realizing she was at one of her art classes. Frank was still at school, and Monica had been a long time since she had come to the door to greet me. She's still pissed because we wouldn't let her head up women's rights. And it's not that we just, at that time that we told her no, this right here had not happened. We had not quelled nationwide protests. And I felt that if the country was killing itself and tearing itself apart because of the death of a communist poet, that if my first lady got up there and started like championing for women's rights, it'd be like, well, one more thing. But then that right there got resolved somehow. It just happened after I'd made that point. So a letter in her hands and a look of despair on her face. Sit down next to Monica. Then handed me the letter. It's from the Department of Education. Frank's University exam results are in. How did he do? Why are you so worried then? See for yourself. I looked at the page below Frank's name and address. The score was written 435 points out of a total of 1,000. At the bottom of the letter, the word failed was stamped in red. All those years of effort, all those private lessons, all down the drain. It would be good for him to learn from his mistakes. This isn't just about Frank, you know. Him failing will reflect badly on you, on us. I just don't understand. Frank's a smart boy. Why would he be sabotaging himself like this? I heard the keys turning in the front door. Frank stomped in and was about to go straight upstairs when he noticed us both in the living room. Mom, Dad, what's going on? Have a seat, Frank. He took a seat across from us and handed him the letter. He started reading it. Oh, poo-poo. Your disappointment. Son, we're not angry with you. I need a moment. He went to the kitchen sink, washed his face. A moment later, he came back. I never thought this would happen. I'm so sorry. This is not the end of the world. Pretty close, though, isn't it? He looked at close to tears. Monica had her hand on his shoulder. It's going to be okay, but you really should have studied harder, Frank. I know. So what am I supposed to do now? There's always military school, but you're the president's son. You still have options. You go to the military school, of course. It's the only place that'll have you. Yeah. Yes. You surprised me with her enthusiasm. If Alfonso could get his dimwit son into King's Hall University, I'm sure Washington State would have room for a bright boy like Frank. I'm not going to take life lessons from Alfonso. I do have connections on the board. It would be nice to have him closer to home. A bunch of my friends are going there. I can still come home, do my laundry. You can also study abroad. Oh, we don't have the money right now. I used our last personal wealth to try to get votes for the thing to pass. Wait, you could also study abroad. You know how I feel about communists, but United People's University in Cantana is free and also has an excellent medical program. Communism, I can dig that. Not exactly how I was expecting to spend my student years, but anything's better than the military. This is the future of our boy, Anton. What should we do? It's been decided. You're going to United Cantana, Frank. It won't influence your life. The military is the right choice. I won't influence your life, Frank. The military is the right choice. Let's send him out. Let's send him abroad. Thanks, Dad. Washington State still would have been my first choice. Well, you should have studied harder. Not only yours. Yeah, but it's your call to make after the way I messed up. What a day. Who's hungry for dinner? Monica disappeared to the kitchen, Frank to his room. I went to my office and began making some phone calls. Hey, look at that. We got our boy situated. Court strikes down. Oh, here it comes. Made an announcement after the majority of the justices voted against the violation of constitutional rights for British citizens as proposed by Ayerson, a landmark case which was politically charged with support of both establishments, caused a major disagreement between the Ministry of Justice and the Supreme Court. Criticisms were handed over the Ministry of Justice, who filed a concurrence, highlighted the importance of impartial justice once again. A hero of some, enemy to others. He is for sure one of the most controversial figures who ever lived in our country, and his anniversary is approaching. There is one question here to everyone's mind. What will the administration do? Oh, geez. Oh, education privatization. Are our children doomed? Justice failed once again. The radical man. The radical. There are a lot of naysayers. A lot of doom and gloom. Alright, what about down here? Rural education improved significantly. Rebel is reporting higher test scores and attendance rates since its education facilities were equipped with new textbooks and state-of-the-art teaching materials. The overhaul was a result of the decision to channel more funding into rural schools. Good! Nice. New school completed. Arbel celebrated the opening of its new secondary school, a two-story building with 50 classrooms and state-of-the-art teaching equipment. The school was funded as part of the government initiative to improve rural education. Look at that. 2 rural schools. Now teaching children and teaching kids are learning and being happy and healthy, challenging young minds. Even if we didn't pass the constitutional reforms. What is this? 6-5 dissent. We should address society. The treatment has been equal before the law. Further press releases were made. Yeah. That's going to blow up, I guarantee it. Alright, let's look at our diplomatic strategy here. Let's figure this out. And then we'll stop for today. The doors to the White Room, like everything else in the Maroon Palace main nerve center, were painted white. I took a deep breath before pushing them open. Time for yet another meeting. At least this time it was with the people who liked me. The attendees rose from their seats. Mr. President. I kind of like this guy now. This guy's great, and he's wonderful. Now that you are here, let's talk about our diplomatic strategy. David cleared his throat. Mr. President, if I may, I would like to provide you with a short overview of where things are right now. Go ahead. We have successfully passed a trade deal with Wayland and Angola, which means we have increased our presence in those regions. These deals were important pieces of leverage and significant first steps into the global arena. We must now look toward the future. Go on. David sat down, pulled out a few papers, and started going through them as we kept talking. Wayland and Angola are practice runs. We must begin improving our relations with greater nations. We need to elevate our international standing, especially with the threat of Rumburg looming. Asaf cleared his throat. Mr. President, you know me. I don't trust the helping hands of other countries offer us for a good reason. But I also know when those helping hands are a necessity. And right now we need all the help we can get. I've said this over and over, but I will repeat it until you get it through your skull. Rumburg will come, sooner or later. And with the current state of our military, if Rumburg's invasion happens, Sorlin will cease to exist. We need allies. We ought to head General Lance's advice, Mr. President. I trust your assessment. Thank you, Mr. President. A military perspective is important, but these deals are about more than just gaining allies. We also need to consider the benefits to our economy such deals will provide, especially when we are still struggling to end the recession. I know. David took a seat and brought out 2 stacks of documents. At the start of our term, I had a comprehensive trade deal plan laid out. Following the visits to Wayland and Angola, we were to pursue potential trade deals with 2 greater nations. Vazgeland is one of them, or at least was. Unfortunately, a trade deal with them no longer seems possible. In VLAND's case, given the country's territorial ambition, our alliance with Angola was rather a slap in the face. Now those commies won't be able to invade without facing the might of the shortest armed forces. We will make them think twice. True, but as a result, we won't be able to conduct a trade deal, let alone proceed with any diplomatic missions at that moment. So much needless dispute over such a small island. What's done is done. Let's look forward. As you wish. As we stand right now, any kind of deal with VLAND is simply out of the question. Moving on to the Oligarchs. Our southern neighbor is one of the wealthiest countries in Eastern Merkup. A trade deal with them would be very beneficial, not just for our economy, but also for our regional and international presence. Not to mention that they are in the Arcesian sphere. A trade deal with the Oligarchs could open many doors for us. True, a country as influential as Lesbos, I don't know, could help could help alleviate our economy. That is it for the overview. As to the actual consonants of the trade deal, the investment we have made in the Bergana region has yielded positive results. Lucian pulled out a small notebook and quickly flipped through the pages until he landed on the right one. Looking at my stats here, the investment helped increase the wheat output of the region. We now have a surplus, which makes an excellent resource for trade. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. I need to know your decision before we can proceed. What should we do? Before you say anything, remember what I said. We need allies, not just a trade deal. If Wormberg's attacks, we will fall. Let's begin trade deals with the oligarchs. Excellent news. I will begin at once. That was all I had for today. Thank you for coming. Thank you, gentlemen. I didn't really want to do a trade deal with the oligarchs. I don't really like them, but the economy is... Oh my goodness. Our economy just grew 3 pips. Our economy just grew 3 pips. Our budget is screwed. Our budget is boned, but 3 pips. Our economy, it would be really good to see the country overview change. 3 pips. That is amazing. We are out of the dire red zone into the okay zone. Ah. Just gotta get the budget under control. Just gotta get the budget under control. Let's look at the newspapers. Rain will visit the oligarchs for a trade deal. Polio cases explode in... Oh my god. Isolated polio cases. I knew this was coming. We're gonna get boned even more. Has experienced a 15% increase in agriculture output over the last 2 years. Employment in the agriculture sector has been rising commiserately. The boom is thought to be a direct result of the investment made in the region. And we're going to get this agricultural zone up, and it's just going to be a breadbasket for us. This right here is going to help solidify these people into becoming allies, and it's going to help us generate tons of money. Look at that. The wage increase for doctors, nurses, and other health workers has gone into effect in Arbel. Hospitals and clinics are already reporting a higher level of patient satisfaction, while the rural incentive provided on top of the salary raises is expected to draw more highly qualified medical personnel to the region. The Arbel is happy. The trade deal struck with Wayland continues to bear fruit as it sees an upward trend in agricultural exports. Manufacturing industries are also celebrating the decreased production costs that have resulted from the uptick in an import of Welzekian oil in the aftermath of Operation Bear Trap. 20% decrease in homelessness among its population over the past 2 years. A development welcomed by Bruce Wright civil activists. The decrease corresponds with a rise in wages and unemployment in the city following the government's decision to invest in this region. Well, there you go. So those people who had immigrated here and are here now, like, just adopt our culture, please. I don't know if in the past we seized this region against your wishes or what happened, but just speak of the language and celebrate the 4th of July like we do, and everything will be fine. Look at that. Healthcare quality is improved. Reports from hospitals and clinics indicate a significant rise in the quality of healthcare. Since additional funding was channeled into the rural areas, mortality rates appear to be decreasing, while patients are reporting a higher level of trust in physicians and medical facilities. The completion of the H3 highway between the two cities has resulted in decreased logistical cost and higher traffic flow in the latter city. The pace of development in Ireland has consequently quickened significantly, with dozens of construction projects now on the horizon. So the whole country is getting back on track. As in the rest of Sorlin, workers are bearing the brunt of the recession. The manufacturing sector has been hit particularly hard as a record number of factory workers filed for unemployment over the past month. Sorry about that, man. Everywhere else is looking up. I know that this area... No, there wasn't anything we could do for this area. There wasn't a project here. It was this area, or this area. Sorry, buddy. I just want to keep going with this game. Just want to keep going. Financial reports show that the shortest rent has steadily been slipping against the Arsenian lira. Through the exchange rate has not yet approached the all-time low reached during the Alfonso administration. Oh, this guy actually was the president. That's interesting. I never thought he got there. Cabinet meeting on the results of the vote. Ugh, okay. Well, that's where we're going to have to stop for today. We're at an hour. Thank you, folks, for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Hooray for the economy. Hooray for Sorland.